Welcome to Hatman Strikes Back Daily Boxing News. I do not buy Chris Eubank Sr.'s outrage over his son's fight with Conor Benn. The outrage over the weight disparity. I'm not talking about the rehydration clause, because I'm not a fan of rehydration clauses either. I'm talking about the weight disparity. Conor Benn coming up a couple of weight classes. I don't buy his outrage over that. Nor do I buy his outrage over the egg slap. In my opinion, although I accept that Eubank Sr. does care about his son and his safety, I think a lot of his fake outrage, that's what I'm going to call it, or at least exaggerated outrage, is motivated by the fact that he, Senior, is not the center of attention. Is motivated by the fact that his son, several years ago, told him that he wanted to take control of his own career and be his own man and wanted to step out from his father's shadow. His father at the time said, "No, you should like being in my shadow." Again, Eubank Sr., in my opinion, wants to use his son to stay in the limelight. And because his son won't allow him to do that, he's thrown his toys out the pram. Now, why have I come to this conclusion? Well, first of all, this isn't the first one of his son's fights that he's boycotted. He didn't show up for either of the Liam Smith fights. He didn't show up for the Zerameta fight. So he and his son have been at odds for quite some time now. As far as the weight disparity, well, Eubank Sr. himself jumped up 2 weight classes to fight Carl Thompson back in 1998. His previous fight was at super middleweight against Joe Calzaghe, 168 pounds, 12 stone, and the Thompson fights were at cruiserweight. So he's complaining about his son Chris Jr. and Conor Benn doing something which he himself did. Then the whole issue of the egg slap, saying that his son is a disgrace because of that incident. Just the other day, Eubank Sr. said that Mike Tyson, a man who he's been friends with for many decades, was his boxing hero. Mike Tyson threatened to drive an opponent's nose bone up into his brain. He bit a chunk out of an opponent's ear. He tried to break the arm of several opponents. He once told a female reporter that he doesn't do interviews with women unless they fornicate with him. I could go on, because with Mike Tyson, the amount of wild stuff that he's done inside and outside the ring is crazy. And I don't recall Chris Eubank Sr. ever calling Mike Tyson a disgrace. His son Chris's behavior has been like that of a choir boy compared to Mike Tyson. And yet Mike Tyson is still Eubank Sr.'s boxing hero? Unbelievable. So yeah, I don't buy any of Senior's outrage. I think it's fake or very exaggerated. He's a pathological attention seeker. And look, I find him very entertaining. He's an oddball character. I enjoyed his eccentricity when he was fighting, and I enjoy his eccentricity, which is even greater now, after his retirement. So I'm not a Eubank Sr. hater here. I'm subscribed to his YouTube channel. I watch his videos. I've spoken to the man in the past. But as much as I like the whole eccentric English aristocrat act, as entertaining as I find it, I'm not going to pull any punches when it comes to giving my take on this dynamic between him and his son. As George Groves said on a recent podcast with Eubank Sr. and some journalists from the Sun newspaper, I think it was, Groves basically suggested that Eubank Sr. doesn't like the fact that the Eubank legacy is no longer in his hands, that it's now in his son's hands. His son is steering the Eubank legacy. Sr. has lost control of it. So rather than being unhappy about his son's actions, it's more the fact that his son is now in the limelight and he's not. Or his son is more in the limelight than he is. Let's just put it that way. Because Eubank Sr. does have, as I say, a YouTube channel, and he gets a lot of views on there. I'm a viewer. He appears on these radio shows and podcasts here and there. You know, some people are of the view that Senior has been struggling ever since his son Sebastian passed away. Now, look, I've got absolutely no doubt that the passing of his son would have hurt him. But personally, I don't think his current behavior has much to do with that. He's always been an eccentric character. When he was fighting, he used to drive a giant lorry around in London and in Brighton and what have you. He was always eccentric. He was always a bit strange. And as with most people, the older you get, the stranger you get. It's like that great line from the movie The Dark Knight. It's a play on a well-known saying. Whatever doesn't kill you simply makes you stranger. Yeah. And so as you get older and you pick up more experience and you start to care less about what people think of you, the more odd you become. And when you're dealing with someone who was eccentric to start with, like Eubank Sr., by the time he reaches, what is he now, 60 or something? Those type of ages, He's very, very odd indeed. And again, you have to remember that this guy, in my opinion at least, is a pathological attention seeker. And his latest gimmick is to pretend to be this arbiter of all morality. When he was on that podcast with George Groves, he kept talking about how this fight is not going to happen because the rules are being broken. And when George Groves asked him which rules, he couldn't answer. You're going to go back to what I said before. Senior himself jumped up 2 weight classes from fighting Joe Calzaghe at 168 to fighting Carl Thompson at cruiserweight in his next bout. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Give me your thoughts in the comment section below. And before I go, make sure you check out my most recent bit of exclusive boxing content on Patreon. It's a 3-hour film study on George Foreman. That's 3 hours of me analyzing video footage, not still images, actual video footage of the most significant fights in George Foreman's career and explaining and breaking down what made him so effective. It wasn't just brute force and physical strength and punching power. No. Foreman had a much better boxing brain and was much more crafty and clever, even when he was young, than people realize or give him credit for. And I break it all down in a 3-hour George Foreman extravaganza on my Patreon page. If you want to access that video and many other boxing film studies I've done, as well as countless podcasts and what have you, just head on over to my Patreon page, which is called The Brotherhood of Reason, and select the tier called The Boxing Brotherhood. There's no contract, there's no commitment. You can cancel at any time, just like Netflix, and it's very reasonably priced. If you just want to sign up for 1 month and then check out, that's absolutely fine. So yeah, don't miss out on my George Foreman film study. You can access that and my entire back catalog for a very cheap price. It's great value. All of the links are in the description below. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Make sure you guys like this video, share it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'll catch you on the next one. I'm out. If you want to access this video along with hundreds of hours worth of other exclusive boxing content, as well as our members chat, just head on over to my Patreon page and select the tier called The Boxing Brotherhood. There's no contract, no commitment. You can cancel at any time, just like Netflix, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper. Just download the app from the Play Store or the App Store. All the links are in the description box below. And just a quick money-saving tip for Apple users. If you purchase your Patreon subscription on the desktop site or on Android, then you'll avoid the ridiculous 30% fee that Apple charges for purchases made on the iOS app. So if you're on iPhone or iPad, save yourself some money by buying your subscription on the actual Patreon website or on Android because it's a lot cheaper. Once you've made that initial purchase, you can then use the Patreon app on your iPhone or iPad thereafter to access and enjoy your content as normal.